Good morning, and welcome to White Bear Unitarian Universalist Church. We are delighted to have you here, whether you're in person or attending virtually. It's good to be together, a community of youth, adults, and children, sharing the values of courage, reverence, and compassion. I'm Cecilia Dodge, she, her, and I'm a member of our board of directors. If you're accompanied by children today, we warmly welcome your whole family. We invite you to explore our Soul Work Center, where you can explore different activities designed to help all ages engage with today's worship service. If you have a joy or sorrow you'd like to share in the meditation, please add it to our meditation bowl, which is in the Soul Work Center, or in the chat box before the opening hymn. Please make sure to gain consent before you put someone's full name in the meditation bowl. For those online, our cyber social hour starts 5 minutes after the postlude. In the building, our social hall is once again a hub of connection, informal conversation, and cookies. You can also find tables and information about upcoming events. We hope that you'll check it out. If you're looking for a short and structured time of connection and community, our formalized small group conversations are still happening. Please grab your coffee and then find your way to the Emerson alcove. Once a small group has gathered, we'll have 20 minutes of focused sharing. Next Sunday, December 18th, kicks off our 2022 holiday services with a festive winter celebration. Wear your festive sweater or other holiday attire. Kids in jammies are welcome. As we share in the joy of the season, dedicate children to our community, enjoy live music from a saxophone quartet, and sing our annual tradition, the 12 Days of Christmas. It'll be a rocking good time. And for the full holiday services schedule, including solstice and Christmas Eve, please visit our website at wbuuc.org/holiday-services. Welcome to our church. Together we grow our souls and serve the world in love.
Come into this place, which we make holy by our presence here. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes, for here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this place where we can touch and be touched, heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this place. Together, we make it a holy place. I'm Reverend Roger, and my pronouns are he, him.
Good morning. My name is Louis McLaughlin, and my pronouns are he, him. I'm always stunned by the beauty of Christmas, specifically from my upbringing, the Catholic signs and ceremonies of Advent time through Christmas Day. And at the story of Christmas, the angels, the shepherds, the star, the magi, the family, so ordinary and helpless and in flight across borders. The search for shelter and the universe expanding experience of simply becoming parents, of welcoming a child into a world full of violence and uncertainty. A welcome with a wish that with that child's growth might come peace on earth. I remember being quite overcome by that wish myself, as 3 years ago I sang "May Nothing Evil Cross This Door" to my daughter Rose one morning, probably a week or two into becoming a father. Now my wife and I, as still new parents of a toddler, two ordinary people, two people who sometimes feel there is no other word for it, helpless. are counting down the final weeks before the birth of our second baby, another mystery entirely. And we wait and we prepare as Mary and Joseph did. Unlike them, we face no imminent danger, not really. We abound in hope and in joy. But like the shepherds, we find ourselves a bit afraid now and then of our coming transition. And this is despite the angelic assurances of friends and colleagues who have been through the shift from one child to two. Fear not, they say. We'll be just fine. Though, like the appearance of a new star in the heavens, the shift will be cosmic. It strikes me now as a sweet comedy that the Magi bring treasure for a family that probably needs more than anything shelter, stability, and community. Most importantly, love. So relatable are all these characters, fearing, wandering, offering, hoping, rejoicing. I light the chalice today in the hope that in the midst of all the preparing and anticipating of this time of year, we remember love is both our greatest need and our greatest gift.
I'm Reverend Sarah Goodman. I use she, her pronouns. I invite you now to join me in our opening words, printed in the order of service or on your screen. Love is the spirit of its church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And I invite you to rise in body or spirit, wherever you are, to sing Carol, O Come, Emmanuel, number 225 in the gray hardback hymnal, also words on the screen.
My name is Nico, and my pronouns are they, them. There are just two characters in this morning's story who approach winter very differently from one another, and I'll say right off the bat that I relate quite a bit more to Jess. This story is about friendship and winter, but it's also about thinking we know what's coming because we've experienced something similar before, and perhaps are dreading it for that very reason, forgetting that mystery is everywhere. Sometimes this mystery, this wondering, is just enough to shift that dread into something else. Sometimes all it takes is a friend to open us to mystery and joy. This morning's story is called Welcome the Night by Amy Peterson. Jess loved the feeling of the grass on their bare feet, the cool dirt of the vegetable garden, and the warm sun on their face. They loved how they felt free each time the breeze touched their cheeks as they rode their bike down the street with their friends. In the summer, they could fill the long hours of each day by climbing trees, rolling down grassy hills, playing hide and seek, and gazing up at the great blue sky, watching in wonder as the clouds slowly rolled by. Each bright summer day meant a new adventure for Jess, each journey ending only because night would come. And so at dusk, Jess would return home covered in dirt and grass and pollen, and they would go to bed, dreaming already of tomorrow's adventures in the sun. Summer was Jess's favorite. When fall came each year, though Jess lamented the shorter day, they still looked forward to daydreaming as they crunched through the leaves on their way to school each day, and as they picked sunflowers on their way home. But winter was something different altogether. There were itchy socks and sweaters and scarves that tickled their nose. It was cold and dry, and the wind that once signaled their freedom now stung at their cheeks. It hurt to breathe, and without all the flowers and worms and vegetables, the few hours of sunlight somehow seemed less bright. And then Jess met Sam. One cold, snowy winter evening, when Jess was feeling particularly bored and irritated by the season, they paced around the house, longing for the days of summer. Suddenly, something strange caught their eye. Outside, in the dimly lit yard, they spotted a child about their age, in a bright red coat, laying on his back in the snow, his mouth wide open. At first, Jess just rolled their eyes and went back to pacing. They took a few steps, then stopped again, glanced out the window again, and sighed. Their curiosity had gotten the better of them. There was nothing left to do but to pull on their itchy socks, crawl into their heavy snow pants and coat, and slip on their boots. They put on their hat and scarf that tickled their nose and ventured outside. The snow squeaked and creaked under their feet as they made their way to this new wonder lying in the snow. Hello? What are you doing? Asked Jess, annoyed. I'm eating snow, was the joyful reply. Jess crossed their arms. Why are you eating snow? Aren't you cold? Want to eat snow with me? I'm Sam. I just moved here. And so, with nothing else really to do, Jess reluctantly joined Sam. For a moment, they both laid there in the silence, watching their breath drift into the night air and the snowflakes dance gently down toward their faces. But it wasn't long before Sam broke the silence. Did you know, he started, that the stars appear to be brighter in the winter than in the summer? That not all snowflakes are actually different? That deep under the snow and ice, worms and animals and insects are eating and keeping warm? That the plant roots and bulbs are sleeping but ready to grow the moment it gets warm? Sam went on and on. He sure did know a lot about winter. And although Jess didn't really understand Sam's excitement for the season, his energy was infectious. Jess started to feel a little warmer, even as they lay in the snow. Before long, Jess and Sam were building snow forts, creating stories about the creatures that live beneath the snow, and dreaming about the constellations in the sky. When they ran out of stories, both collapsed back down in the snow, the stars beginning to peek out from behind the clouds. Did you know, started Sam again, that in some places, the long nights of winter are always for storytelling? I'll bet that there are as many stories shared on winter nights as there are stars in the sky. just smiled. They loved imagining people gathered around fires, sharing stories. Somehow the idea of long nights seemed less boring and more magical. Soon Jess found the season of cold, short days and long, cold nights to be more bearable with Sam around. Jess learned that nightfall was no longer the signal that adventures must end. It was a time for new adventures to begin, with snow forts, hot cocoa, and games and stories. Summer was still Jess's favorite time of year, but each year, as summer turned to fall and fall into winter, Jess found themselves looking forward to the warmth, stories, and brightness they found even on the longest winter nights, especially with their friend Sam by their side. It is now time for us to sing our registered children and youth and their facilitators out for their circles. So I invite you to rise and body your spirit to sing number 1057 in the teal paperback hymnal.
Join me in the spirit of meditation and prayer. We are gathered today here in person and with about 38 families online. Wherever you are, do what you need to find a connection to the earth with your body. There's much to hold this season. Winter holidays can bring the best memories and the worst together in a tangle of disconcerting feelings. Joy at the smiles and the laughter, the food and the family. But it also can remind us of those who are no longer with us for these special occasions. It can remind us of conflicts and distress. This season of holidays can bring pressure to create something perfect. As we know, that is an unattainable goal. As we wait now for the days to become longer and try to make friends with winter, sometimes we find we don't have much to give. So now breathe into this moment. Let go of stress as much as you can. And hold close your loved ones, those who are present and those who are no longer with you. Let us be in this moment together. And let's hold a time of silence. This morning, we hold Marie and her family facing dementia, depression, and cancer. We hold Ryan in our thoughts, who's been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. We are sending healing energy and resilience to Sid, Jan, and Ryan as they cope with increasing mental and physical health challenges. We hold someone's colleague, Shar, who left this world unexpectedly on Thursday. She leaves behind a young daughter. We hold Brad and his family. And Ken and Jan Harris are thankful for their daughter's successful surgery, the skill of her healers, the generosity of the organ donor and his family. Blessed be. We also hold several members in the congregation who have lost loved ones. Mimi Kramer lost her brother Jimmy at Thanksgiving. Renee Hollier and Tom Hollier, who lost their mother Christine McMahon. And we hold particularly Grace and Griffin and their father Scott after the death of their mother and other relationship, Jill Heberlin, who passed this last week. That's a lot to hold, but we can hold it together. In fact, we can hold a lot more together. So I invite you now to share into this room, into this space, into and onto the shoulders of all of those near you, the names that you would like held up in this moment, so we can hold them together. There's room enough in our hearts for all of them. Amen. This community is sustained by the generosity of people who call this place home. By giving to this morning's offering, you are giving life to the programs and services that make this place special. We will pass the donation plates now. You can also donate in 3 other ways. On the WBUUC webpage, send a check or leave a check in the locked box outside the front office, or use the text to give option found in your order of service or in the chat box. However you give, thank you for your generosity and your faith in this life we live together.
Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing to the power of the hope within. Lift up your voice.
Our reading this morning is from Jane Kenyon. It's The Bat. I was reading about rationalism, the kind of thing we do up north in early winter, where the sun leaves work for the day at 4:15. Maybe the world is intelligible to the rational mind, and maybe we light lamps at dusk for nothing. Then I heard the wings overhead. The cats and I chased the bat in circles. Living room, kitchen, pantry, kitchen, living room. Every turn it evaded us like the identity of the third person in the Trinity, the one who spoke through the prophets, the one who astounded Mary by suddenly coming near.
As the heavens nature waits, long ago and so today, where hatred-weary people pray, love will come and lay there. And so do countless tables stand, in hearts as harsh as desert lands, no shelters in the wind and sand. Love will come and stay there. Love that always makes delight, leads up all on heaven's place. Love that shows a kindly face to enemies and strangers. The walls of stables tremble so when the winds of fear and judgment blow, for a stable holds in love alone, and knows and loves the answer. For love, the prophet's only word, the only lesson left to learn, the only end of heaven's work, and the only road that goes there. Love that so may the lamps of stables glow, brightly that their light may go, for miles in the darkness so. Love will find its Love will find its way there. Love will find a way. Love will find its way there. Love will find a
This feels like a good opportunity to say thank you to the volunteers who are making this choir possible. I don't know about the choir, but this has way exceeded my thought about the step forward that the choir would be able to take this year. And so my great gratitude To the directors, Laura for playing piano, Margot for coordinating, really grateful. And all the choir for coming back and joining. Yeah. And if you would like to join the choir, you would all be welcome. They are not, even though it sounds like it, professionals that you have to be top notch. You'll be helped by others who might be topper notch than you are. So anyway, open invitation. So I talked last week about how everyone here, ministers, lay members, everyone has an opportunity, an invitation to share their understandings of how this world works and what it means, and to listen to others. Crucial to this is that all of us need to have this assumption that we are not speaking for everyone, and that everyone doesn't have to agree with us, right? So that's what's up today, where I'm going to share my own theological understanding. So this is a description of my understanding today, not a prescription for yours. I only have one hope today, and really most days, that whatever I share will help you think about your own, contemplate your own spiritual journey, your own understandings. So last week I shared my personal theological self-definition, and today I want to focus on the first two words of that definition, which are agnostic, polytheistic. I'm guessing some of you last week thought, well, that's a blatant contradiction. Of course it is, but I prefer to think of it as a paradox. So this summarizes a very important portion or part of my inherent part of my eclectic belief system. I am not sure if the divine exists, but if it does, it makes sense to me that there are lots of pictures and manifestations of it. So agnostic, polytheistic is not an either-or statement, but a both-and statement. I am agnostic, and I am a polytheist. So the polytheistic part of my belief is why I'm a Unitarian Universalist who actually finds the Christian notion of the Trinity appealing. I like it because it presents three rather than one viewpoint of the divine. In the Christian case, God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. Now, I don't take the Trinity literally, and I know a lot of Christians who don't either. All three parts for me are imaginative snapshots of what this divine might be. As a polytheist, I also find Hinduism even more appealing because there's a million deities, and it makes the Trinity, and especially our Unitarian one, feel a little meager. How powerful to picture in the Hindu view the divine as this beautiful man with a snake around the neck dancing in a graveyard like Shiva, or this voluptuous earth mother like Shakti, or a blue-skinned, sensuous, gender-fluid boy playing a flute like Krishna, or an unhinged, long-haired woman with a chain of skulls like Kali, or the kindly elephant-headed god Ganesh. Each of these suggests a truth about this divine. So returning to the Trinity, I have one of those three as my favorite, and that is the Holy Spirit. This image conveys to me that the divine is everywhere, even within us, even within me, that it infuses everything. So there's a quilt in my office that pictures this village with spirit figures dancing in the sky. Smoke flows out of one of the village chimneys and dances all through the scene and finally interweaves everything and finally goes upward in a trajectory into the sky. It really fit in well with the current display in our atrium. Pushing upward is the theme. At the top, there's words that say spirit in the sky. And at the bottom, and elsewhere. Spirit in the sky and elsewhere. So smoke is actually frequently used as a symbol of the Spirit in Christianity, so is the flame. I think of that sometimes when I look at our flaming chalice. It is, for me, partly a symbol of the Spirit. Other common symbols for the Spirit are the rushing wind and the breath. Hindus use salt water as a symbol for the Spirit. In the Upanishads, one of the ancient texts, a sage instructs his son, "Put some salt in water and bring it to me in the morning." So the son stirs in salt into the water, and the next morning he brings it to his father. "Fetch me the salt you put in yesterday," the father asks. "I cannot, father." "Then taste the water from this end. What does it taste like?" "Salty." "Taste the water from this end. What does it taste like?" "Salty." And then the sage says, "That which you cannot grasp, but can taste in every drop, that is the real. That is Atman, soul, spirit. That art thou, my son." So these symbols of spirit, I think, suggest qualities of the Spirit. It's omnipresent, like the air. It's important, like our breath. Yet it's intangible, hard to see in some real sense, like smoke or wind, or certainly salt mixed into water. And now with Jane Kenyon's poem, we have another image of this Spirit, a swooping bat, another metaphorical snapshot of the divine. The Spirit is like a bat swooping around our house in circles, living room, kitchen, pantry, kitchen, living room. It's everywhere. Maybe you've had this happen to you in your house. The only time I've ever had it happen, thankfully I was outside and I watched my wife battle that bat. Because I am terrified of bats. So the fact that this symbol resonates with me is a bit of a surprise. Yes, I am fascinated by them. I marvel at them. They are incredible creatures, and I am seriously afraid of them. So I like Jane Kenyon's symbol for the Spirit because bats both do fascinate and scare me. And I think the Spirit is a little scary. You know, thinking that it dwells all around us and even within us, it's scary to me. Not in like a mean old judgmental God kind of scary way, but in that scary way of awe. Awe is a kind of fear, a fear that is laced with reverence and wonder. It is the feeling I have when I contemplate how small I am, how short my time span is in the scheme of space and time. It's the feeling that I have when I contemplate the miracle of evolution that helped lead to us being here, me being here. It is the fear that I felt, the awe I felt, the joy I felt when I held my kids for the first time, and then my grandkids. Kathleen Norris writes, "It is fear in the old sense of awe that allows us to recognize the holy in our midst. Fear that gives us the courage to listen and to let God awaken in us the capacities and responsibilities that we are afraid to contemplate." So in the Christmas story, this is the kind of fear that Mary feels when the angel Gabriel visits her and shares the unexpected news that she's going to have a child. "How can this be?" asks Mary. "I'm still a virgin." The angel answers, "The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you, and for that reason the Holy Child to be born will be called Son of God." "Here I am," said Mary. "I am the Lord's servant, as you have spoken, so be it." And then the angel left her. Of course, this story or any of these stories or pictures of the Spirit don't totally capture what the Spirit is. Such stories hint at, give glimpses of it. Well, the agnostic part of me thinks there's another possibility, that none of these images is on the mark because there's no such thing as the Spirit. And without hesitation or even dismay, I recognize this is a possibility too. So the Spirit in the sky and elsewhere, or maybe nowhere at all, I'm good with either of these possibilities, honestly. Here a couple times, 3 times, I've experienced what I understand, maybe, to be the Spirit, if there is such a thing, whooshing by me or within me. The first is a really everyday experience in these parts. It's seeing a cardinal in the winter with the snow. So that bright red that's set off so incredibly by the snow. It speaks of the miracle of seasons and birds and colors and seeing. It speaks of something deeper than just this bird's flesh and blood and feathers. Second example is, like Lewis talked about, that holding your kid for the first time. And then third, on the other end of the spectrum, is something that I felt, for example, that Spirit moving when I arrived from out of town late one night, went to the hospital to see my mom. She was struggling for breath, her lungs pressed in by fluid built up around. We hugged and we whispered until from the other side of the curtain we heard her roommates hiss, "Hush up! Be quiet!" And my mom stuck out her tongue. And then we were quiet and we laughed silently, holding hands. We knew she didn't really see my mom stick out her tongue, but it was still hilarious. And we're holding hands and we're looking at each other, smiling. And there was more there than just holding hands and just a look. There was more there. It felt sacred. A simple but beautiful connection. So how would I describe these and other experiences of the divine? Well, they are experiences of wonder and awe and connectedness. They're moments of recognition that though our lives are tiny and our time short, that we are a part of everything that is. And here's another thing that really strikes me about most of these experiences is that they're intimate. I think the Spirit is often a symbol for that kind of intimate experience of the Spirit, and that's part of what I love about it. Another way I describe experiences of the Spirit is that they connect us with this deeper mystery, a mystery that is beyond all rationality and knowing. Now, don't get me wrong. I believe in rationality. I try never to leave home without it. Generally, it serves me pretty well. Rationality, as the poem we heard says, the kind of thing we do up north in early winter where the sun leaves for the day at 4:15. I looked up the poet. She lived in New Hampshire. Of course she lived in New Hampshire or Minnesota, right? That sort of rationality in the middle of winter. Rationality is always present, blessedly so, but there's also plenty of room for mystery. Meaning, to me, lies more in that realm of mystery. So the various celebrations of the winter solstice to me are a reminder to pay attention to these moments when we can experience the Spirit within and around us more obviously. These solstice rituals and stories are built on ancient mysteries that still are a real part of our lives, even though we can be inside in heated places. We have artificial light. The pagan solstice celebrations and traditions remind us that we live in a natural world still of seasons and rhythms. It illuminates the beauty of the darkness and also the promise of the return of light. The Christmas story reminds us that in the words of Sophia Lyon-Faz, each night a child is born is a holy night, a time for singing, a time for wondering, a time for worshiping. Every person who's born is sacred, no matter how lowly, as this story shows. Hanukkah reminds us of the miracle of hope and faith surviving, that hope and faith cannot be extinguished. So these ancient stories and traditions still speak to me. They're not history for me. They're not scientific explanations of how the world works, but they have to do with what it means to be a human being. More to the point for me, they have to do with what it means to me to be this human being in this place at this moment. So every December, the challenge for me is to make room for the stories and the traditions. It does take focus and intentionality to make sure that they're not drowned out by the shopping and the hustle and bustle and the music. Spirit and mystery will be there anyway, I think, but it's not the same, for me at least, if I don't show up for the party. Great Spirit of life, here I am. I'm looking. I'm waiting. I'm open. Our closing hymn today is number 72 from the larger gray hymnal. Has summer come now, dawning? You might not think this is a winter solstice hymn, but it actually is. So I invite you to rise in body or spirit wherever you are and join in singing 72. Our closing words come from Barbara Mahtomedi. December is an invitation. Glance out the window. Behold the silence of the first or later snowfall. Be under heaven's dome and watch the star with star-stitched wonder. Watch Orion and Polaris. Listen for the love songs of the great horned owl. Be dazzled. To be dazzled is a prayer. May you go in peace.